My name is Peter Constantian, and I am the pastor of Crusoe United Methodist Church.
I'm the little brother, and this is one time in my life where I can stand here and say whatever I want to about Geoff and get away with it. So I might. But I want to start with a thank you for this lady right here, Sandra, for coming alongside Geoff and taking care of him. I appreciate that. We were talking about this display a while ago. She was talking about this scout uniform. She can't get it to stay in the frame straight. And I said, that's okay. Geoff was always that way. He was fidgety. You couldn't keep him in one place. When he was a toddler, his big sisters told me that he had curly hair, was really active, and our mom had to tie him with a halter to the clothesline to keep him in his boundaries. There are a lot of memories. One of the sisters asked me the other day if I could put it in one word, maybe it was my wife, if I could put it in one word to describe Geoff, it would be loyalty. Because he was. To family, friends, anybody that he came in contact with. But there's some things you might not know about him. He was a real entrepreneur when he was quite young. He decided he was going to make money by selling muskrat skins. So every day for 6 weeks, he got me out of the bed to go with him down to the creek to see if we had caught a muskrat. Would you like to know how many we caught?
None.
Nary a one. He was a great leader in a lot of different ways. Johnny Brong and some of the other guys here remember him as an explorer scout. He led a couple of things that were quite remarkable. One, when they were headed for the National Jamboree of the Boy Scouts, he needed a project for Eagle Scout work and whatnot, and it coincided with that. So they actually went out in the woods, cut down poplar trees, and built a signal tower. You know what a signal tower looks like. You've seen them in the Western movies. But not only did they do that, but they learned semaphore so that they could send a message from one end of the Jamboree camp to the other end. And he led that troop in doing that. Maybe that's why he became a signalman later when he joined the Navy. I don't know. Perhaps. There's one other mark in Western North Carolina that I wanted to mention. And it's part of the legacy of the Methodist Church around here. He earned, the article over here talks about him earning the God and Country Award in the Boy Scouts. Part of that involved some research, and he discovered Francis Asbury, who was one of the old circuit riders that planted churches in Western North Carolina. Francis Asbury traveled back and forth on his horse, spreading the gospel. This explorer scout troop took their machetes, their bow saws, their crosscut saws, no chainsaws, and marked the trail that Asbury used from Cataloochee all the way to Clyde. Weekend after weekend after weekend. They were out there hacking away at the brush and marking that trail. The Asbury Trail. The preacher himself, on a rainy night, crossed that mountain and described it as 3 miles up and 20 miles down. And if you know Cove Creek, you know exactly why he described it that way. It is a curvy road. It takes a long time to get up from here. and a short trip down to Cataloochee. I could share a lot of other memories. I just want you to know those things about Geoff.
I'm the baby rabbit. I'm the baby rabbit. Geoff was my dad, and thank you for including his job as Daddy Rabbit, because he always referred to himself to me as Daddy Rabbit. On cards, telephone calls, I'd answer the phone. He'd say, "This is the Daddy Rabbit." So that was something very special. But anyone who spent any time with him at all, I'm sure, heard one of his stories. Growing up with this man, I heard multiple stories all day long. Everything was a story. To the point where sometimes I'm like, I'm not even going to mention that the ceiling is leaking, because it will turn into a 6-hour story that goes all the way from our house to some other country, to another state, and back to our house before we say, well, maybe we should put a bucket under it, right? So, and it was that way. He was that way. He was so full of this knowledge, and he had this desire to share it with everybody. You know, he was not always the greatest storyteller, because quite honestly, sometimes it was so boring you could fall asleep right in the middle of it, but he kept on going. And to be quite honest with you, I'd do anything to listen to one of those stories right now, you know. So I'm going to share a quick, funny story. And when I think of growing up, my childhood, all the great times we had together, and if I could think of one thing that sticks out in my mind as something that makes me just chuckle every time I think about it, it is this story. When I was in high school, we lived in the eastern part of the state. I grew up in Wilson County, and we lived in this house, and it had kind of a covered back porch area that had this little laundry room over here, and then you walked through the covered porch into the kitchen, and then you go into the rest of the house. So Dad is standing in the kitchen at the sink. I had gone out, done some laundry, had taken the laundry out of the washing machine. Our dryer was the one where the door folds down like this, so I'd folded the door down, and I'm grabbing the laundry, and I'm just grabbing and chucking, you know, because as a teenager, the last thing I wanted to be doing was laundry. I just wanted to be done with it. Throwing it in there, close the door, hit the button, take the 3-4 steps back into the kitchen, and as I get to where Dad's standing, I realize I'm hearing a boom, boom, boom. And he said, "Did you put tennis shoes in the dryer?" And I said, "Oh!" And so I run back to the dryer. I knew I hadn't put tennis shoes in the dryer. Run back to the dryer, and I pull the door down. And guess what flies out of the dryer? Our cat.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
The cat had climbed into the dryer, I guess, as I was down in the washer. I didn't know it. Luckily, it was only a few seconds that the cat was in the dryer. Cat was fine. But the funny part is that when I pulled it down and the cat flew out, the cat literally came out of the dryer, made a turn out of the laundry room, a turn into the hallway, a turn into the kitchen, and another turn down the hallway into the rest of the house, flying past my dad's head, literally suspended in air as he's making all these turns, and that cat's feet never hit the ground. And my dad laughed and laughed and laughed, and I can remember us standing in that kitchen after I got over the part where I thought I'd almost killed my cat, just laughing and laughing and laughing. And from then on, we talked about that time that the cat flew out of the dryer. Anyway, so he could be a storyteller, but man, he sure liked to have fun too.
Yeah.
He did. And I will miss him greatly. I will miss him greatly. And I'm grateful for Sandra being part of his life. He and my mom were married for a lot of years, and a lot of you knew her very, very well. So this has been a difficult time because she just passed 2 months ago, and I believe that they've probably waved to each other in the last few days. Anyway, so I just want to encourage you all that even though this time is kind of, we're all coming because of a sad time, that to choose to see the blessing in every situation, to choose to focus on the positive and the blessing. And if you feel like you're in the middle of this situation where you don't see a blessing, you're not looking around enough, because we are wrapped in such blessing in every moment, in every storm, in every circumstance. There is blessing wrapped all around us if we choose to open our eyes and see it. So I encourage you today, as we celebrate my dad and all of our love for him and what a great guy he was, to choose to see the blessing.
A little short story is Geoffrey would be in, when he was in the Navy, he was stationed in close enough places that he could come to visit with us in Raleigh, North Carolina. So as he would come and he'd open the screen door and throw his Navy hat into the living room. That was announcing his arrival.
That's right. Daddy did